Alright, Shamu everybody. Hi, I keep saying it's been a while. My schedule on this has got very crazy since I finished the last lecture. But our last video we talked about the Ars Goetia and all my gripes with that and putting a definition towards Goetia, and all of this was kind of leading up to the next lecture series that I wanted to do, where we are tracing the origins and the lineage of what we understand to be the Western occult tradition. And to start with this, I tried to do a green screen for this thing, but it looked terrible. But we need to start all the way back in what I do, the Mesopotamia. And we're going to be looking at the Maqlu. So the Maqlu text is a conglomeration of 9 clay tablets with over 100 incantations. Now, the term Maqlu means burning, and that is a key theme that we see within the Maqlu. We see the invoking of Gibil and Gira, the invoking of Nusku, the fire gods, and the divine lamp. And we have a lot of incantations that are put forth in which tallow figurines or clay figurines of the Kashapti and Kashapani, the evil witch and wizard, are burned, in which the spirits are burned, the figurines of the spirits are burned, and the names of gods such as Enki, Ea, or Enlil are called upon to release and undo sorcery, to free somebody from being beset upon by a spirit, and things along these lines. So what this does for us, how does this have anything to do with with Western occultism proper? It is an anti-witchcraft series that has the beginnings of what we know for ritual structure. We see the first written accounts of adjurations, of adjuring things and commanding things. We see the use of sympathetic materia, and this starts to set a template for much later in the exorcistic and the grimoire logic. We see a lot of the beginnings of juridical speech that enforces divine law, this being the seed of exorcisms, adjurations, and commanding formulas. We see the beginnings of having proper action, proper materia, proper words invoked through the divine. Because in Mesopotamia, in the Maqlu and in Mesopotamia in general, magic didn't come from manifesting. It didn't come from visualization. It didn't come from, energy moving around. It didn't come from just thinking things into existence. It came from all magic. As a little side tangent, magic was a social had social constructs within it. In order for you to perform magic, you needed to be approved to be a priest of some form, and in order to be a priest of some form, you needed to be accepted by the community, as well as having the ratification of the king, because that also ratified you with the gods. So if the community was not accepting of you as a priest, and if you were a wicked, vile person, the king would not sign off on this. And so no magic in Mesopotamia comes from the person. We do these things by the god's command, in the name of the gods. It is not I, but Asarluhi who speaks this incantation. Let my sweet words be the sweet words of Enki. These kind of things that were heavily important, where the priest is merely a speakerhead for the divine. This concept in its own can trace itself all the way through We can see it in the PGM with the headless right. I am Oceanophrys. We can see this in Catholicism, where you go out and you do the miracles and the exorcistical stuff in Jesus' name, the kind of mandate for exorcism. We see this in Wiccan and neo-pagan circles, in which somebody embodies the Green Man. We can see this in the ceremonial lodges of the Golden Dawn, of Thelema, of such, of the Assumption of the Godhead, the Headless Rite, which is technically just a Stele of You, which is just, the Stele of You, the Hierophant, like, it's just, it's just the Acephalos thing, but that's a whole different tangent. I'm not going to get on that. But so we can see this as something that follows through the idea of speaking on behalf of the gods and, being being that channel for the gods to work through, as well as it's viewed as the afflicted person is a defendant, and the priest pleads the case of this person being wronged by either a spirit or a person who acts as the defendant versus the plaintiff situation. This very judicial thing is something we see going forward through the grimoires, going forward through mysticism in the church, through the idea of the divine council in Judaism. These are all very important backbone structures. Now, I could also bring up, while the Maqlu is the main focus, we can also see in the Shirpu and in the Utukulemnutus, and especially in the Namburbi rituals, a lot of these were very apotropaic. A lot of warding off evil, omen aversion stuff to avert omens, but the thing that we would really focus on seeing in this, and we see it in the Maqlu too, but especially in the Namburbi rituals, this is where we start casting the circle. The Namburbi rituals are literally the flower casting circles, and not like you cast flower in a circle in an area. And so this is where we first start to see the idea of the divine circle, which will come and mold and shape itself throughout, even to modern day, picking up many meanings and many associations. We also see within the Namburbi ritual the calling of the quarters, the calling of the watchtowers, essentially delineating the four corners of the world of the circle. Now, for Mesopotamians, it was not north, south, east, west. They had a four winds model in which it was northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast, but it's still the all-encompassing around the circle, calling these up. So, our first step in understanding how we have got to Western occultism today is to look back at the Maqlu text, as well as a little bit of the Bitmeri and the Utukulemnutu, the Namburbi rituals, the idea of the Ashipu handbooks or the BAM tablets that had the idea of a lineage of professional magicians, which we will get into importance of lineage in a later one that is 10 minutes for me. The next video that I will try to get out this weekend or Monday, we're going to dig into the 2nd to 1st millennia Egypt in the late period. Also, 2nd to 1st millennia BCE is also when we're seeing the Maqlu and such. That is 20 minutes, or I've got 20 seconds left. May the ancestors bring you the sweetest of portents, and may you have the most wonderful dreams. Shamu.